So you can talk, you can do kind of whatever feels right for you. So letting go of control to find freedom. So that sense of gripping and holding on, right? Like I had this picture in my mind, Chandra and Rowan coming to the airport to pick me up, and Rowan at the airport always holds out her hands, and I kneel down and we just hug each other like that, right? So I had that in my head. And then Chandra said, it's just too hard for me. My sister's coming to pick me up. 5 minutes later, she said, no problem, I'm free. But this sense of how much we hang on to things, right? We try and control the outside, the other people, the world, the weather. So when we get tired enough of managing and trying to fix and trying to hold everything together, then if we get tired of this kind of underneath it is this fear, and we get worried that if we loosen our grip, life's going to fall apart. So in a way, we're really right, because something does fall apart, but it's not our life that falls apart, because we can still be responsible. But what falls apart is the illusion that we ever had any control to begin with. So, and in the Buddhist teaching, they talk about dukkha, suffering. This doesn't come from pain, or it doesn't come from pain alone, actually. It comes from our clinging, our hanging on. We've talked about this over time. And then we keep getting, I don't know about you, but I keep getting faced up with it in how I want to clinging to the idea that Chandra and Rowan are going to pick me up at the airport. And then it's just the timing. Like, I changed the timing of the airport. I changed how I was flying. I changed everything. So I arrived at 7 their time, and it's interfering with the bedtime. Otherwise, it was going to interfere with work. You can hear my mind clinging. So clinging to a certain identity I have, clinging to outcomes that it's going to work a certain way, clinging to how things should be. Clinging is simply clinging. Control is when we're trying to kind of manage things, and it's like clinging is how it looks. So we might say to ourselves, I'm just being responsible, or I'm planning ahead who's going to pick me up at the airport, or I'm trying to make things better, to make it smooth. Everything has unfolded about this 6-week trip with ease. So I'm just making sure that all the details are cared for. And sometimes that's true. You do have to plan ahead. You have to book your flight. You have to make sure you're getting to the airport. You have to make sure you're getting, all those things are true. We do need to be responsible. We do need to plan ahead. But often underneath all that is this fear that's kind of not visible to us. Fear of uncertainty, fear of loss, fear of Rowan not going, Granny, fear of not being enough if things unfold without me supervising it, without us managing it, supervising it, making sure it's all going okay. We don't abandon care. We abandon attachment, and then we learn how to discern when we're attached and when we're letting it go. So we have this anxious grasping. This must go my way or I cannot be at peace. So I'm coming to accept that my sister is coming to pick me up, and that'll have its own sweetness, right? And it'll be fine. And the idea that I'm letting go of the clinging of what my 6 weeks is going to be there with. This is the longest time I've spent with my daughter and granddaughter and her husband who's away traveling. So I keep saying I have no expectations, but I'm still holding on to the illusion of control that I'm going to have a nice time. There's a PD day on Friday, and I'm like, oh, I can hang out with Rowan. Rowan says, I want my regular babysitter. So she's going to have Eva, who's going to babysit her Friday, not Granny. And another disappointment, another idea of letting go. So when I look gently and honestly at myself, and we might say deep truths, things like our bodies age despite our best efforts. Our thoughts arise in our minds without permission. They do, they just come. Our feelings change. Like the weather, it's no longer going to be cold here in Ontario. It's going to be less cold, but the weather changes. So our feelings change as well. And other people do not behave according to our plans. These are truths in the world. This is the reality of it. So if control really works, if it worked, we would have perfected it by now, because there's almost 8 billion people on this planet trying to control and manage other things, other people. So the mind keeps trying. It says, well, if I just have one more adjustment, one more strategy, then I'll relax. If Chandra and Rowan just pick me up, it'll be fine. But I continue to hold on to what I think and what I want. And so learning how to practice that in the moment. And then we can see how fragile it feels and how much we can still cling to moments, to wishing you were different, to wishing I was different. If only this was different, then I would be okay. Then I wouldn't have clinging. But control actually manifests not as strength, but as tension in our body, our jaws, our shoulders, our bellies, often around our eyes. There's a sense of holding on to tension. So freedom is no longer needing reality to obey us in order for us to be okay within ourselves. No longer needing reality to obey us, which is what control is, trying to make reality do what I want it to, and instead being with it as it is. And sometimes I think that letting go means kind of giving up or surrendering or something, but it doesn't mean passivity or apathy or irresponsibility. It means to act without clinging or without attachment. So we still speak our truth. I still might need to say, I'm disappointed that Rowan's not going to be there. We still set boundaries. I need to be picked up. There's no buses anymore. The taxis are $100. And we still show up fully. But we release the demand that our actions guarantee a certain outcome, that I'm going to be loved. So if we have a bird in our hand, and one of those little birds, sometimes at Lemoyne here, I don't know if any of you have go to a conservation area, and I have mixed feelings, but nonetheless, everyone feeds the birds. So you put some sunflower seeds in your hand and the chickadee comes down and lands in your hand. I even had a cardinal once land in our hand. If you squeeze it, oh, look, there's the bird, I squeeze it. Of course, I'm going to harm it. If I learn how to hold it gently, just allowing it to move, or even just not touching it. I've never tried to touch the bird that's there. I just feel its little feet on my hands. It eats it and then it flies away. So a deep trust in the bird being there and the way things unfold is exactly right. This is what we are practicing. So whenever we need to let go of a flight to visit a beloved granddaughter for her wedding, or a right relationship with a beloved sister, or trusting that our son will be just fine in the world, no matter what. When we get released from jobs that we wanted and we don't have a choice around that, that causes us. When our bodies, all those previous ones that we mentioned, when our bodies age and we have less and less choice over it, how hard that is. So what we do know is that control lives in our bodies. And so today we're going to practice in our meditation. We're going to start in the body, as we often do. So it's the jaws, the shoulders, the breath. That's why we're practicing letting go of breathing. But we also don't want to control it. We want to let the breathing breathe us, let the breath breathe us. So we don't want to have a rigid breathing. We want to notice and practice deepening the breathing, but we don't want to be holding on to the breathing and making it feel a certain way. And freedom, our internal freedom, begins with allowing what is happening. And it's usually not, sometimes I imagine it's one release and then I'll be fine. But instead it's that over and over and over again. This moment last night when Chandra says, I don't think we can come and pick you up. And I felt like crying for a moment and just let go, that small relinquishment. And I'm still letting it go. And isn't it cool that my sister's available and can pick me up? letting go of being right, letting go of being liked, letting go of the story I have about how this moment should feel, and coming up against how it really feels. So each time I control something emerging, when we sit in meditation in particular, we can see a thought, a feeling, or a sensation emerge in our field of awareness. And then sometimes we tighten around it. So we want to let it go. Let it go. We don't even control the letting go. We simply stop feeling that kind of gripping feeling. And it's a practice. It's an ongoing practice. I can still feel it. It's less than it was last night when my daughter said she couldn't come pick me up. I better tell her. But it's not pushing away. This is what Jon Kabat-Zinn says, right? Not pushing away, not bringing it forward, just not holding on to it, just being with it. So when we let go, the mind first says, if I don't manage this, if I don't do it, something bad will happen. But if you stay and if you breathe and if you trust this practice that we're doing together, something unexpected arrives, which is something like creativity, can be compassion, maybe even resilience. It's not a promise, but it's when we open ourselves up, we listen instead of defend. We live instead of managing. And freedom doesn't feel like floating. Freedom feels like standing firmly in the middle of life without armor, without expectation. It's intimacy without the attachment. It's intimacy with presence. So we're going to do a practice in just a moment on letting go of control and opening to inner freedom. But first, I wanted to share some of that teaching. Thank you.